Hey, and welcome to the Heuristics podcast. This is Kobe Ben-Mer. I want to start by wishing my Jewish friends a Shana Tova. It's always lovely to be around family on the holidays, to know that you're participating in memories that will shape the lives of those closest to you, especially my kids. Which is why today's episode has some extra resonance for me. My guest is Yoav Reisler, an Israeli man whose two mothers were the first lesbian couple to have biological children. He doesn't know the man whose genes run through him, and we talk at length about what that's been like. It's a mode of being that is somewhat foreign to me. I mean, nearly all of us know our fathers, so we tend to take that for granted. But after this conversation, I can't say that I do that anymore. Yoav is very brave for talking to me about this, and I do hope this will be of some use for gay parents. Straight couples have had, millennia to talk about how best to raise kids, and it's easy to forget that the conversation for gay parents is only a few decades old, thanks to relatively recent technological developments. In any event, here's our conversation.
Man, before we start, give me your cell phone.
Oh, okay.
I own you for the next few, at least 2 hours or so. So, I got this as a gift. I got this as a gift, this little box from someone in, I was just in Amsterdam, like in August.
That's cool.
And they listened to the first episode or whatever, and, or I don't know how much of it. And it was about our relationships with smartphones. So it was a really touching gift.
Is it sort of like being put in the middle of the table? And then
You know what? I'm gonna put it on the floor so that way, like, if it starts buzzing, then you won't freak out. Are you nervous without your cell phone? Do you feel it? What the hell, man? We can't live without it. How are you, man?
I'm good.
I haven't seen you in how long? Since we were on that trip, right? In the north.
I think like
That was what, March?
I lost.
You lost track of time.
Yeah.
I actually don't even know what day it is. When was the last time that happened to you? I know it's Sunday, but I don't know what day of the month it is.
Oh my god. I don't know. I think it's been like more than 6 months.
Yeah. It's been more than 6 months. Anyway, oh, listen, I actually want to get your opinion on something, because I don't know if you can hear in my voice that it's a little hoarse, and I don't have COVID,
Oh.
all right, which is sort of number one, but I have these seasonal allergies that every time the weather changes just a little bit, it's like I'm fucked, you know. It's just
Like
and
every other American has.
oh, I see. Are you calling us all weak? Is that 330 weak people? 330 million? No. So it's just very annoying, you know. It's just coughing and sneezing and runny eyes, runny nose. Like, that's it. Like it's a cold that's too lazy, you know. But I don't have COVID.
I don't hear it in your voice.
Ah, okay, good.
Yeah.
I actually noticed it this morning that I was kind of hoarse, but aha, just to prove my point. But I was talking about this with my cousin 2 nights ago, and like what are the norms about this now? Like, we went through this crazy 2 years. Maybe some people are still going through it, and then the government just all of a sudden says, we're out of telling you what to do when it comes to COVID.
Yeah.
So now it's up to us to sort of decide what's polite and what isn't.
Yeah.
And so the discussion I was having with my cousin, I was more sort of on the let people just do whatever they want, and he was sort of like, no, actually, if the example he gave was, I think it's useful to ground this in an example, is, let's say my son comes home with COVID, and obviously I live in the same house as him, and we have this podcast schedule would I call you and say, "Hey, Yoav, my son has COVID"? Like, and we came up with essentially three different um, options to proceed from at that point, which was one was I could just do nothing, right? You could just not say anything and pretend as if that's the case. Like, assuming I'm not, have snot all over my face and coughing like crazy,
Yeah.
not totally gross, right? But if it's like asymptomatic, just show up, right? Uh, the second option is I can call you and discuss it, right? Hey, listen, my son has this. What do you think about? And how are you feeling? And what do you blah 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 blah. And then the third option is I take the decision for us and say, look, I'm postponing. Let's do it another time. What do you like? What would you do in that situation?
I think I would go either for the second option or for the third one. I think I got few incidences that I behaved like the first option
Mm.
of just like not telling the person what I did and what made me feel like this. I don't know, like the second guessing my decision for what I'm doing now and how it could impact your well being. So, for example, I had a meeting with a therapist. I think like just in the beginning of COVID,
Yeah.
and it was just like the time that everyone were so panicked about it.
Right.
And I went to this meeting without telling the therapist that I got exposed yesterday to someone who had COVID. So I think it really taught me the lesson after I spoke with the therapist, like after she knew that I had exposed to someone. Um, and she was kind of like mad or disappointed by the decision that I made.
But
So
that was at the height of the panic.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
And we know like and people can be forgiven for reacting which way they were reacting at that moment because who knew, right? Like it was really scary, right?
yeah,
But now the virus is milder, obviously, and we have ways of treating this thing, and it just very much resembles like a flu, which if you just think about life before COVID,
yeah,
people treated the flu. Yeah, they didn't freak out about it, right? They didn't have all these considerations,
hmm,
and for me, I'm also like you. I'm between that second and third option, right? But I favor more. Um,
the honesty of the first option.
what do you mean, like just showing up?
Yeah, just like being true to yourself without.
Yeah, no, there is something of like a punt in terms of if I call you and say, "Hey, man, what do you think?" There's something cowardly about it, right? Of like I'm putting the decision in your hands or in both of our hands. I'm not quite sure exactly, but there's a sense of cowardice
Mhm.
in that move, and I resent also, I suppose, the like the what's actually going on, right? Is you and I are having a conversation and we're sitting in a room and like I've been looking forward to this for a while, just to catch up with you. And what's so that's one way of looking at it, right? And then another way of looking at it is like that I'm in a room with you, but I might potentially get you sick, and you might get someone else sick, and someone somewhere down the line will die, right?
Yeah,
And that's the lens that this is viewed through.
yeah,
And it just seems so extreme, you know. I don't know if you disagree or
it does. I feel like the responsibility that you have for other people is something that is really being emphasized by the corona and
yeah,
stuff like that. So like your decisions could really have impact on someone's well-being,
yep.
someone's life afterwards. Um,
But the thing is that we were living in that world even before COVID, right? Our actions still mattered, right? Whatever we did,
yeah,
like we have social circles, the things we said, the things we did, like it impacts those people's lives, and then the circle just sort of keeps broadening outwards, right? And then we're all just sort of one family if you think about it. But
Yeah.
so what's changed, I think, you can tell me if you disagree, is that perception of risk, right? That something that is as deadly as the flu, and you know, is it is it 0.5% mortality rate? Is it 0.8? Is it 0.3? I have no idea, right? But in terms as viruses go, it's much closer to the flu than it is to other far more deadlier diseases out there.
Yeah.
And so, what? Why should we behave differently than we did before? Like I don't know. Like, did your mom's
Yeah.
when you were sick, right, and you were going to school? Did your mom send you to school? Because my parents sent my ass to school. Like if I had a fever, if I was puking, that was the threshold. But sometimes even if I have a fever, no. But yeah, I would go to school with a cold.
Yeah.
Now imagine doing that. Like parents would get really really upset. And I don't. I'm not exactly sure how I think about that, but I do tend to lean in a direction of like, come on, guys, like this is going too far.
Yeah. I think like my mom's. um, I was kind of like a very healthy boy and like didn't get sick a lot, so I don't really remember the times that they sent me to school sick or something.
Do you
Um,
ever remember being in school sick?
um, not really, not really.
Okay.
I feel like I was always like um, behaving like everything was good.
Mm,
So I didn't show like any symptoms of being sick or something.
okay. So you
Uh,
could have been sick, but
yeah, maybe I just like hit it.
whoa.
Like
How do you hide a cold?
um, I don't know. I think it's a skill. Um, I don't know. Either I was really healthy and not like showing any symptoms, or I don't know. I just don't remember myself as being sick
Wow.
and going to school.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
But um. Anyway. So I guess we more or less agree. I think.
Yeah. I feel like
So what should be the rules? Like so you think better to call someone and say and just more or less have this conversation, right?
yeah. I feel like talking about this stuff and leaving the decisions to both people
Yeah.
to make it and not have one deal with the consequences of the other without knowing like his actions is the best way to move forward, or just like to be safe
Oh,
and to take the safest bet that would not jeopardize someone's well-being. Like if you canceled our meeting but also told me that like your son is sick, I would totally understand that.
yeah. Yeah.
And if you also like left the decision to like for you and me to discuss it, it's also something that
Yeah.
I would appreciate. But just I think like showing up to something that um, something about it and I don't, it's just showing some sort of like a lack of confidence in
Mm.
my intelligence or
Well, you could view it in another way, which is you'll be fine. you
yeah.
know, like most.
But you don't know that.
I of course I don't know that, right? But
Yeah.
but as I said, right, this virus isn't, you know, the vast majority of cases that you'll catch this thing. It's not gonna be anything other than at worst for someone like you and me,
Mhm.
a couple of days with a fever and what resembles a cold, right, or flu.
Yeah. But the thing is that
Yeah.
like there are circles around us and there are things that we don't say to each other. Like I could have like an illness that is not really shown
Mm.
and you would just think that
Mhm.
I'm young and healthy,
Mhm.
and you don't know like the circles of like my family or the people that I'm interaction with that could be like in
True.
danger groups.
Yeah.
So there are a lot of like things that force us to be really conscious, like extra conscious about anything.
Yeah.
And I think like it really is something that is common in society, and I'm really grateful for it. Like the whole Me Too movement, like how people are being extra cautious about sexual harassment
Yeah.
and about like I don't know, like bullying, like as the years evolve. Um,
So okay, that because there's this thread that's sort of running through the conversation, which is like how much responsibility do we carry for other people?
Yeah.
And one way of looking at this is quite a lot actually. Um, Another way of looking at this is actually zero, right? Where not zero, but not as much as people would like, or we're sort of giving short change to people's own personal responsibility by saying, "Look, I'm protecting you." Like we're all just sort of protecting each other, and then, well, where's the adventure, right? Where's the risk, right? The sense of risk taking. And again, I really don't know sort of in where I land specifically in that constellation of stuff. But take for example bullying. You just raised it. It's so weird. It's just life just sort of smacks you unexpectedly. My son now, who just went into first grade, has a bully in his class, and he obviously really doesn't like it, and he complains about it. A couple times at night he's come crying,
is
and
being bullied or
yeah, he is being bullied, yeah, um, and part of me thinks if he just stands up to this bully, this will be finished, right?
Yeah.
But there's another side that okay, there's a teacher involved. I actually don't know what's going on with this other kid. Who knows what kind of environment is causing him to be a bully,
Yeah.
right? And there's and there's also like the fate of the entire class, right? Like how does this person, this little kid, right? He's only 6 years old. That's bullying these other kids, not just my son.
Mhm.
How do they deal with him? Like, is it just individually? Is it just collectively? Like, do they all have to stand up to him? Does the teacher have to send a message? Like, it's not entirely clear what I have to do as a father to tell my son. So for the moment, it's like tell the teacher that that. But if this thing continues, right? I mean, do I then tell my son, look, you got to take responsibility for yourself and stand up to this guy, and also reap the benefits of that action, right? Of that move to say, you don't mess with me any longer. Like, what do you think?
Yeah.
I mean, you were bullied, right?
Yeah. Um, I think I was bullied because of my family of
Yeah.
like I was trying. I think like I grew up in an environment that tried to make everything really normal, and the environment was not really normal, and I wasn't given like the exception or was given the spotlight of showing up as someone that has a unique family, a unique structure of family.
Yeah. So wait,
So
your moms were the first lesbian couple in Israel to have biological children?
yeah, so
Is
my
that is that is that even true? Like, I'm sure. I'm not sure. I have no idea. But weren't lesbian couples before that just had sex with another? I mean, it sounds really crass to describe this, but did they have sex? Other women had sex with a man to have children of their own, or
Yeah, so this is as far as my sister knows that she's the first she's the first girl who was born to two lesbian moms, and until then it was either um like couples, like heterosexual couples being divorced and then reunited again with their own sex partner.
mm.
Um
So they had kids,
yeah,
got divorced,
they had kids or yeah,
got
something like
remarried,
that.
or yeah. I mean, as a gay person, you can't get married in Israel, right?
Not yet,
Not yet.
unfortunately.
Okay.
Um and yeah, so back to my answer about bullying and stuff.
Wait, no,
Uh,
no, but just spell it
yeah,
out. So your moms were the first uh, couples in Israel to have a biological child, right?
yeah. My sister is 5 years older than me,
Right.
so now she's 30 and something.
Mm-hmm.
So
30 and something.
yeah.
You know, it's not a forbidden age, right?
Um,
How old are you?
I'm 20, almost 27.
No wonder you say 30 and something. Okay.
Yeah. So I think like in these 5 years between my sister and I
Mm-hmm.
hope that some families were able to bring their own children out
Okay.
of their own native circle.
Do you know what the
Um,
process was? Was it artificial insemination?
um, it was sort of like an IVF situation that you get like a sperm donation and you
Yeah.
get like an egg donation from the mom that will carry um, the fetus, and then it's artificial insemination and into the woman's uterus,
Right.
like every other IVF does. Um, but yeah, I know that my mom dreamt for years to have like her own children, and I think like it was just something that was so new.
Yeah. Did you and your sister are from the same mom, or each one is from?
Each one is from the other mom,
Okay.
um,
And
and yeah,
and both of you don't know
who the
your
father
the
is.
father is.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But we're still like feeling like we always felt like siblings, like in every word, in every like
Yeah.
part of how to describe it.
Even though biologically you're not related.
Yeah,
That's wild, huh?
yeah. I think like because the family was trying so hard to make it feel natural and make it feel
Yeah.
like this is a new way of growing kids, growing
Yeah.
families.
Well, so I want to come back to the bullying thing, but
Yeah.
just I mean I don't know what is it like to what was it like to grow up in your house?
Yeah. I would say like the ultimate and like the overall experience was good.
Yeah.
Um, I like there are a lot of stereotypes for like people thinking that I was born to two moms, that there was a lot of food, a lot of like warmth, a lot of like caring from the parents, and it was. I think like the focus on food was not very significant because we're Ashkenazi, and they weren't like the best cooks, but I appreciate them
Yeah.
trying and always like making sure that there's like a warm meal when I'm coming back to school from school.
Yeah. And they were involved in your life like they
Yeah, they were, but I was also like putting limits to their involvement in
mm,
some ways. So one of the things that um, I'm not feeling really good talking about is like how bullying affected my sense of confidence and my family. So for example, there's like once per quarter you need to bring your parents to talk to the teacher, like how your studies have
mhm.
been going and stuff
Mhm.
like that. So because I was pretty um, not confident in my family and was also like pretty much afraid from other people seeing two moms waiting outside of the classroom. So this is something that like really affected my, I don't know, my,
Do you recall the first time that you were teased or bullied because of your two
yeah,
moms?
I think it was somewhere in like in the basketball court or something.
Mm.
I always didn't feel belong in each place that I was trying to go to play as a kid,
Why?
because I was born to a family of like three women, um, and I think like in kindergarten everything was good, and there wasn't like really standards for gender or standards for sexuality.
Mm.
Everyone were just like kids and had fun no matter what their gender was and no
Mm.
matter what society looked at them. And I
Right.
think like in the first when I was 8 or something, there was like this separation of kids like going either to play basketball or to play football, or the girls are playing other stuff.
And you
And
didn't have any of this stuff in the house?
um, I did have this like both of my moms were really like sportsy, like
Mm-hmm.
they loved playing sports, and I was also good in it, but just the social interaction with the people that played these type of sports was pretty rare to me because I was always like playing either with my moms or with my sister, but
Mm.
like the circles that had the stigma of gender, I wasn't I didn't feel belong in each of them.
Is that, I mean, it's hard to know this as a kid growing up, but did your parents, did they consciously sort of remove you from those kinds of people? Did they just not get along with the parents that you didn't play
Um,
with their kids? I mean, you went to school, right? You went
yeah,
to kindergarten, so.
yeah. I think like they just tried to make everything look normal, and like they weren't really involved in my social
Mm-hmm.
interactions with other kids. They sort of like trusted that I was a friendly boy,
Yeah.
and was presumably had a lot of like friends, and everything was good at school. And every time I came back from school at the end of the day, it was just saying, yeah, everything was fun, everything was okay.
Yeah.
um, and it wasn't okay in some of the days, and some of the days it was okay.
Yeah.
um, but I think like this sort of like first bullying exercises were when I was either caught in the middle of like the gender war in preschool.
What?
Sort
What
of like
gender war?
no, it's just something that I made up now.
Okay.
Like
We've got enough wars already, please.
yeah, that I didn't know like if I'm if I belong to the basketball court
Mm-hmm.
or I belong to the girls court playing something else.
Wow, fuck.
And I didn't know like where to put myself, and because I was always like more I felt more comfortable around girls because this is
Yeah.
like where I grew up.
Were there men hanging around your house? Were there any father figure types or?
I think there were figures that tried to make me feel like I was having like this father figures like from uncles and stuff like that. But
Yeah.
nothing was really like significant enough to make me feel like I had this father character.
Yeah, there's something also just about the consistency of it. Like I see my three boys every single day,
Yeah.
and so they see how I interact with their mother, right? So that gives them a a way of an example of how to deal with a woman that you love, right? Um, they see how I am with other adults. They see how I am with older people. Like I'm not saying I'm the best at any of these things, right? But it, for better or worse, I am their example, and it's just constant, day after day after day after day after day, different situations, right? And they're just sort of, I mean, I know this now because now I'm a father and I watched my father, and you're painting, it's a composite, right, of all these different scenarios that you saw your father, and then you emulate what you want
Yeah.
to emulate, and then you discard or try to improve upon the things that you didn't like. And I suppose this is just the process for every uh, boy, because we were both once boys.
Yeah.
Growing up in a heterosexual, growing up with heterosexual parents,
Yeah.
right? But you didn't have that, and so did you have friends that you like went to, but guy friends?
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me
Yeah.
about that.
I think I had these very small number of male friends, like when I grew up.
Yeah.
Um,
And they were aware of the bullying as well.
um, I think like when I was bullied, I didn't have like these male friends. I think I
Oh,
had these male friends like before the bullying and after the bullying, but I didn't have like some male character or male figure in my life that could have protected me from
right.
these bullies. And
Someone like
maybe
me talking to my son, saying, "For now, tell the teacher, but at some point, you're gonna have
yeah,
to punch this kid in
or
the
like to
face."
have someone talk directly to the bullies themselves. Like I
Right.
had
Right.
very strong like girlfriends that stood up for me and
Amazing.
protected me from other like male bullies
Yeah.
that were hanged out in my school.
Although that could backfire, right? Because I'm speaking traditionally here, but if if a male bully picks on a boy,
Yeah.
and then a girlfriend stands up for him, he might actually be and think, okay, maybe I should continue to pick on this kid because what the hell is this? Like,
Yeah.
this isn't
Maybe it's something
this isn't
that
someone I should be afraid of, right? He's got some again, I'm speaking
yeah.
crudely here, but he's got some girl going and defending him. Like, what the hell is that?
Yeah. And maybe it was a snowball that
Mm.
made the experience felt so long.
Yeah.
Um
How long were you bullied?
um I would say like around 8 years.
So
Um
from that moment in the basketball court when you were what, 6 years old?
no, I think it was like around 8.
You were 8 years old
Yeah.
until you were
Um
16.
yeah, I would say like it wasn't like the same bully like
Yeah.
all the time. Like
Yeah.
I do have these characters in mind when I'm thinking about the people that bullied me.
Yeah.
And the most iconic thing is that I saw one of them in the Pride Parade few years ago, and it was like
Oh man.
I just held so much anger inside of me of just saying like, you called me gay, you laughed at me like hanging just around girls, you laughed at my family, and now you're at the Pride Parade.
And wait, and this guy is gay.
No, I don't know. Like maybe he
Oh,
is, maybe
okay.
he's not.
Because it
But
could. I mean, I've been to the Pride Parade, right?
yeah,
It's fun.
yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
It's bringing like recognition to
Right. Right. But the thing is, there are definitely, I'm sure, things that I did or said as a kid that I'm not proud of, or I would look at now and think, oh, don't do that, right? Because we're kids and we just don't. We don't know what we're doing, right? We're figuring this stuff out,
Yeah.
And
But asking this forgiveness is something that I was hoping to get, and maybe it's something that I
yeah,
will get, and I'm hoping
yeah.
to get.
But does this guy know the pain that he caused you?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I
Right.
didn't confront with him.
Yeah, yeah. Because you've been carrying this shit. I mean,
Yeah.
you're 20, almost 27, right? And so it's 11 years you've been bully free,
Yeah.
I suppose. But a third of your life, you weren't.
Yeah.
Right. That's a long time, man. And those are your formative years, for fuck's sake.
Yeah. And also, I think it's not something that I could have controlled in. I think I was bullied because of my environment, because of my status, and not because of the things that I did like by myself.
What do you mean?
I wasn't bullied because I was a nerd. I wasn't bullied because I didn't have friends. I wasn't bullied because other things that I was entirely responsible for. I was bullied because of the environment I was born into.
Yeah.
Um,
Did you talk about this with your moms?
I did. I did it. I did talk about it like a few weeks ago after we talked about this podcast.
Oh, but not
No,
during
no,
not in your school years.
no. I was.
Wow.
I
So you
was
just kept this all to
afraid.
yourself, or and your friends, right?
Yeah, I was afraid of hurting them. I was afraid of making them regret on the type of family that they grew. I was afraid that the bullies would eventually hurt them.
Really?
Yeah, and it's something that as a small boy growing up in a family, I was trying to take this um, parental position of being like a father in a family that has two moms already, but just because I'm a man, I need to take this ownership and I need to take this.
Wow.
Um,
Where did that come from?
um, I don't know. I feel like it was an instinct, that I had. Not because my two moms were not strong enough or
Yeah.
stuff like that. They were extremely strong and they were protective. They were great. They are great.
I mean,
But
I just imagine, you know, they live in a neighborhood. They have to deal with, the parents of the people in your class and your sister's class. Like they have a social circle, and so all of a sudden, like this is completely not common, and they do it,
yeah,
and they have to live with it, right? And they have to be sort of gangster about it and be like, hey, fuck you, I don't care if you care or not. Like this is my life, this is the way we're gonna lead it, and no one can tell me what's right or wrong here. So
yeah,
that's already it already, I mean, as you said, right, your mother was her wish, right, to have a child,
yeah,
and she did it, right? So there's a certain courage there that you know that is laudable and noble. So I don't doubt the fact that your parents were strong people.
yeah,
But it's interesting that you still, even though that was the case, you still felt like you needed to protect them,
yeah,
and you can't really explain why that is.
yeah. Um, yeah. I feel like I was just afraid. Maybe it was like a stigma that I carried throughout the years that
Mm,
because they're women, because
mm,
I noticed this gap in my, like when I was in preschool and kindergarten, there wasn't like this gender specification, and then my family didn't made it seem like there was one, and then I went into school, into preschool, and I noticed that there's a difference between men and women and how people think that they are strong physically and
mm-hmm.
mentally. Um, and I think like this perception of society really influenced me to take ownership, to take like responsibility of the fact that I'm a man. I need to stand up. I
Mm-hmm.
need to protect others. Um,
Wow. So even coming out of a home such as yours,
yeah.
you did adopt some of the same traditional way of looking at men and women.
I think it was in this very short period of time that
Mm-hmm.
I was sort of like bullied, but
Yeah.
then afterwards I just like neglected and put that aside.
Do you think that you said something that I'm still trying to process in the beginning, right? You said that you could hide the fact that you were sick or not. You're not exactly sure, but
Yeah.
it's possible that you did. Do you think that that's as a result of training yourself to when your mothers asked you how your day was, you're like, yeah, it's fine, but meanwhile you were suffering like hell,
Yeah.
and they believed you, I suppose.
Yeah.
Well, at least maybe you like to think that they believed you.
Yeah. I'm sure that they didn't believe me at some stage because it was really like I was living in my own world. I was coming from school and just going on like going up the stairs and being locked in my room until dinner. Um,
Really?
yeah, and it was like the time.
Were you angry at your parents?
Um, at some point, yeah,
Yeah. No, I know the feeling.
Yeah. But I was also like feeling really bad that I was angry at them because they didn't do anything wrong.
Right.
They tried to wrap me in cotton and make me feel like I'm protected and
Mm.
supported, and it wasn't it wasn't enough for me, I think.
So it's weird how we sort of keep coming back to the first thing that we were talking about. Is that yes, we need to be protected, but we also need to face risk and danger, right? It's the only way that we can get tough and grow, and it's the only way it works, right? And again, traditionally speaking, those are the two roles of mother and father, right? Where mothers, um, they tend to be more caring and nurturing and even protective, right? Whereas fathers are a bit harsher, I suppose. Right. This is the prototype of the father that they realize that there's a lot of suffering that you have to go through when you go out into the world, especially if you're a man. And your job is to prepare them for this, right? Like, don't whine, suck it up, get your life is in your hands, right? You have all the tools you need. You just have to develop them, and you have to grow some character. And I wonder if you were angry in a sense of maybe they protected you too. I have no idea. Again, I'm just asking, like, if they protected you too much. You said they wrapped you in cotton, um,
Yeah.
and you kind of maybe you saw fathers in other kids' homes. And you said, oh, I wish I had someone like that in my house to push me and to show me what it's like to be strong and tough and all that sort of typically male characteristics.
Um,
Tell me if I'm wrong. Yeah,
yeah.
if I'm putting words in your
No,
mouth,
no.
please, please, please.
I don't think I was looking for it. I
Okay.
wasn't like looking for the type of family that I was hoping my family would be. Um,
Mm.
I always felt that there was a significant difference in the houses of my friends where I went with my friends too, and they hosted me.
Like what?
But um, I would say um, mm, 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 not sure. I don't know.
Like the way the houses looked, the kind of food that was there, the entertainment that was there. Like, did you grow up with video games?
No,
No.
no,
Okay.
not at all. Uh,
Sports. I'm just making shit up. Yeah.
yeah. Um,
Discipline.
yeah, I would say more discipline
Mm.
in the houses that I went to.
Okay.
I grew up sort of like with that I had the responsibility to develop my own discipline, and there were rules at other places that I went to.
Oh.
But I was already like had my own discipline, so I didn't have
Mm.
to rebel or something like that. Um,
So what? Did your mothers gave you a lot of leeway to do?
yeah,
Like
they
what?
give me like a lot of freedom, a lot of like
Amazing.
yeah, yeah. And I was never like being sent to because of punish like
Yeah.
to my own room. Um, I always was really like was a good boy and
Yeah.
was trying to satisfy everyone.
Yeah.
Um, and then I went to my friends' houses and saw the discipline there, and was just really thankful for what I have.
Cool.
And also I got a lot of sense that my friends weren't like their father's biggest fans,
Mm.
and this also caused me to not look at what I don't have.
Mm.
Um, But I started looking at what I don't have, like at later stages, at later ages, uh, when the bullying stopped and I had the time to think about what happened. Um, but I think like at the moment, like when I was like in school and pretended that everything was good, I wasn't looking for a father character because I thought it was a bad one. I didn't
Mm.
want a male a character in my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah. I think it was dads. There can be nice dads,
Yeah.
but typically speaking, the role of a dad isn't exactly the nice one, right?
Yeah.
You know, the mom cooks the, again, traditionally speaking, blah blah blah, but the mother cooks the amazing food. They take him out to do nice things, and the dad is like, as you said, right, discipline and order, and just teaching them the cold lessons of life, right, which again are extremely valuable. But in the moment, like for example, I tried to teach my sons how to ride bikes when I was in Amsterdam uh, about a month ago, and you know, for them it's just learning how to ride a bike, but for me it's the value of teaching the value of perseverance.
Mhm.
Of these are, you have to take these steps to get personal freedom, right? It's not like you wake up in the morning, you learn how to ride a bike, and it's so easy, and now you can just go to your friend's house whenever you want, right? That it doesn't work that way. You've actually got to practice this thing, and then once we know that you're good at this, and you don't fall off the bike, and you know what you're doing, and you know how to cross the street and all that stuff, then you're free to go, right? But it does take some training, and that obviously that lesson is applicable through many periods of my of everyone's lives, right? Riding a bike.
Yeah.
But my eldest, he's a perfectionist, and he was just quit right in the middle of one of our sessions, even though he was making great progress. But he fell off the bike, and he just didn't like it. And this, after patiently explaining what I'm doing, this and that, again, maybe I should have taken a different approach with him, but I just got so annoyed that he was quitting on me, you know. And we got into an argument, right? And this this is probably my fault, but I what should have been a really fun bonding experience, learning how to ride a bike, turned into a fight, and now we have this thing, like the next time he sees a bike and he sees me, it's like, oh, this asshole again, right? Um, Nevertheless, like there's still a good lesson there that I hope to teach him one day, and again, I did it imperfectly, but maybe one day he'll look back and say, oh yeah, that maniac who taught me how to ride a bike, he actually taught me something valuable. Um, and the same goes for my other kids too. But yeah, the role of a dad is
But what was your lesson in this experience
in terms of what?
in terms of what made your older son, feel so angry at you?
That I think first and foremost that I misunderstand him. I see someone giving up for not a good reason. He feels something completely different.
Right.
I think. I could be wrong, right? I mean, he's not here to speak on his own behalf.
Yeah.
Um, but and that's really not a nice feeling, when some we all exist, but we're never fully understood, right? And when someone understands you, that's everything, right? And you hang on to those people
For a lifetime.
forever, right? And and it hurts when it's your father that doesn't understand you, or your mother, your whatever, wife, husband, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever. You get what I mean? Because you're saying the same thing over and over and over and over again, and you expect this person who's been with you forever to effortlessly understand what it is that the hell you're going through, what you're saying. And when they don't, it's like, wow, you weren't paying attention to me at all. and that sucks, you know.
But that is not necessarily your fault. Like your fault. It's also like the person that is trying to communicate it, maybe not in the most comprehensive way.
Welcome to parenthood.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is actually this is precisely the reason that I have come to understand my parents in a completely new light. Is actually going through it myself,
Yeah.
and I'm way more loving and accepting of the job that they did. Like all the so the anger and the resentment, like most of it is gone, if not all of it, because it's like, oh, that's what you were doing, you know, and carrying that baggage and that weight. It's like it's not helpful, right? And and who knows? Like maybe this is part of your process of working through whatever it is that happened in your house. Um, because you'll wake up one day and you'll realize that you're Yoav Reisler who just got promoted, right?
Thank you.
And no, but seriously, you're a key contributor to a pretty quickly growing startup.
Yeah.
You're not a criminal, are you?
No.
Not yet. Okay. No, like you're a functioning human being that's capable of having friends. Like whatever your parents did or didn't do, like you came out okay, you know?
Yeah.
And there's shit that you got to work out in your own mind, right? This anger and stuff, but the time will come. But okay, so that actually it does bring me to something that's again endlessly fascinating about you is that you you told me that you're also a sperm donor.
Yeah.
So what's that about?
I think it was
Knowing like well so far, but we've talked about your own life, like what, and then you make the decision anyway. So what's that about?
yeah. I think it was the decision I made came from really like altruistic reasons of helping other people, other families to bring children to life. And I also did it from
Does that mean like you close your eyes and you see your mother, like another version of your mother who's just dreaming about having a kid, and you're there to help fulfill that wish?
um
Like, is she the archetype in your mind?
I wouldn't say like it's a my wish to satisfy one person's
Mm-hmm.
dreams or wishes. It's enabling and helping a couple to
Mm.
bring someone to life,
Yeah.
to do something that the government or like the law doesn't allow itself like to, or like biology doesn't enable it. Um,
Well, it does, right, for lesbians, but
yeah.
it's a not a nice
No, like I think like
process.
if two women, two lesbians
Yeah.
wanted to have a child born without the involvement of a male character,
Yeah.
that would be nice. That would be fun.
Yeah.
Like not being reliant on something that they don't necessarily want
Yeah.
in their own life.
Mm-hmm.
But just being this enabler, being this, I don't know, like someone who wants to help bring a family to existence and to replicate the family that I had. And it's something that I really wish for someone to have.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
You've sort of already come full circle, and you're.
Not yet. I'm coming towards there.
So
But I think
we'll come back to the sperm, but I am curious, like what what are the things that you're still hanging on to, that the what are the residual effects of your childhood that you still are still processing?
I would say the sense of belonging, the
What do you mean?
sense of existence, even. Um,
What do you mean?
I feel like to have to do like this entire IVF situation is so complex for the parent. But once a child is being born, he doesn't know his entire history, and he knows that his parents worked so hard to make him alive,
Yeah.
but then he's alive, and what now? Like, he wants to know his origins, but he doesn't know, like, their 100%, like 100% of their origins. So it sort of like throws you into a situation that um, you're looking for, you're walking on the street, and you're looking for people who look like you to make you feel like,
Complete.
yeah, like you have a point for existence. You have, like, yeah, it's sort of like you're looking for attributes that you can't find in your biological
Oh fuck.
mom, whether it's good or whether it's bad, and you're just wondering, like, why, why it exists, why it's in there.
Mhm.
And it's something that in the
So
past years I was trying
thing
to
is,
find out.
do you have do you so you don't know your biological father?
I don't.
Have you ever looked for this person?
I did, but it was in a time that everything was really manual. Everything was in papers, and there wasn't like a really a documentation. There is a group that is called Achaim in Hebrew. It's like
Okay.
half siblings. Um, that I was introduced to when I started, like, the sperm donation of my own. And then I found my half sister that was born from the same sperm donor.
Holy shit.
And I'm not saying father. I'm explicitly saying, like, sperm
Yeah, yeah,
donor,
yeah.
because I don't see this person as a father.
Fair enough.
Um,
Wow.
and yeah,
Does she resemble you in any way?
she does. She does resemble
Oh,
me, like,
fuck.
physically, and I'm actually meeting her, like, in a few hours.
Oh, you have a relationship
Yeah,
with
she's great,
how old is
and
she?
she's 2 years or 3 years younger than me. And she resembles me.
Wait, how were you able to confirm that this person is your half sister?
So in this Facebook group, it's sort of like a space for either moms or for either, like, like kids that were born from sperm donation
Yeah.
to cross check and find, like, we need to give the attributes of the sperm donor that we know that our moms knew, and the date, and like the hospital that the entire situation happened. And
Mhm.
then there's, like, a big Excel sheet that I was not exposed to, but when
Wait, how big is this Excel sheet?
I'm not sure. I don't know. I think, like, it's a group of, like,
No, I'm wondering, like, are you looking through 50 sperm donors, 50,000, 500,000?
I don't know. I
Okay.
wasn't involved in that.
Okay,
I
okay.
was just,
Okay.
like, joining this group and
Mhm.
sharing the attributes of
Okay.
like the sperm donor that I know,
Yeah.
and the date
Yeah.
and everything, like, that happened. And then the manager of this group just cross checks, like, the attributes, and
Mhm.
says that there are few candidates that might be related to you based on these attributes. And then they advise you to do this DNA test. Um, it's called Family Finder, that
Okay.
I sent my DNA to. And then I was confirmed. I sort of, like, had this two girls that suspectedly were, like, half sisters of
Mhm.
mine.
Mhm.
One was in the end my sister through this confirmation of a DNA test, and the other one was not. But it's an
Wow.
ongoing process, and
So there may be
yeah,
other women or people out there that are related to you.
of course. And I think it really depends on for how long can the sperm be preserved
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
after donation. But it was really weird
Yeah.
to make this.
You know, it's I want to come back to your point about um, grounding your existence in something
Yeah.
real, right? But I was recently reading an article by his former colleague of mine, Ethan Bronner, lovely guy. He wrote a magazine article for Bloomberg. Actually, the day I gave my exit interview at Bloomberg, he and I caught up for coffee, and he told me about this story that he was doing. And so this article is about um, how would you call it? It's like sperm donors of dead soldiers. So in the military, there have been a few. I don't know how many cases, but the article is centered around one specific case. Um, that this woman, I think she was from Ukraine. She moved to Israel. She had a child. He served in the army. He was 25. He was in a firefight on the border with Lebanon. He was killed, and they extracted sperm from his testicles and froze them because his mom, upon hearing the news, according to the article anyway, shouted, "Someone needs to get his sperm," or something like this. Like imagine, like no one knows where thoughts comes from. No one knows where thoughts come from. Where the hell did that thought come from, right? And so they did, and now there's a 5-year-old girl, from some woman who wanted to have this man's child. He's dead. He's been dead for I don't know how many years now. I think more than 20 years or so. Um, it's amazing like what technology can do to create life, but it's this kind of stuff that it's like it's hard to quantify. I mean, it's easy to go into a lab and say, let's take some sperm, let's take some eggs, we'll sort of mish and mash them together, put them in a lab, you know, some, freeze them somewhere or whatever, and then boom, IVF, and you've got a child. That's amazing, right? But the fact that there's like a oh, tell me how you feel, but there's like a piece missing to your life. Is it like an empty feeling? Is it painful? Is it what? How would you describe this?
Yeah. Um, I wouldn't say it's painful. It's an empty piece that I'm trying to fill throughout my lifetime,
Mm.
throughout my lifespan, to find the sense of belonging, to ground my existence into something. And this was also one of the reasons that I decided to be a sperm donor in the end.
But you wouldn't? Would you share your identity with?
I It's still anonymous, but I think like if the same children go to the database that I'm in, they would immediately see that I'm connected to them
Yeah,
biologically, because I'm already like inside the system, but
yeah.
just for other reasons, just to
But
find
you
my.
you wouldn't want another person to deal with what you're dealing with, I suppose, right? This sort of search, this
Um,
for completeness.
no, I think I would want to have other people going through this. I wouldn't
Oh,
say that it's like
why is that?
because it makes you special. It makes you
How so?
it makes you it makes your history become part of your identity, I would say.
Of course.
And
But how does that?
it's an icebreaker. It's
Yeah.
it's something that inherently becomes you more special than the other kid that was born from a heterosexual couple, um, and knows his or hers entire history. Mine is just more innovative, more complex, more.
I would agree with the latter part of what you said, but the former, I mean, I look at everyone. Look,
Yeah.
I I see you. Right, the reason why I was so excited to have this conversation is because look, we all wake up in the morning and we carry all this sort of psychic baggage from wherever the hell we came from. All of us, right? And yet we go out into the world anyway, and we try to make the best of it. Struggling along as we do in our journey towards death, essentially. You have this strange twist that, as you said, most of us don't have. But I don't know. I guess I have a little trouble sort of making a hierarchy of existence here. For me, it's humanity across the entire spectrum, right? You and I are different, clearly, but what to me what makes humanity so special is that we all share very fundamental things. And then, everything else built on top of that, you can do it whatever you want, right? But, you know, the fact that you and I, for example, that we need to eat to survive is already a wonderful thing, because now we can both share something. Like we can have I don't know, you eat meat, do you? Right. Okay. So we can share a hamburger together and talk about life, and not even notice that, like, at the same time we're both experiencing the same damn thing, right? So yes, it nourishes us, but it's also, this hamburger is amazing and the French fries are so good. We can obsess about the food together, right? And we can say, oh wow, this is cooked so nicely, and, like, to share the same experience. That's a taste, literally a taste of the universal, right? So I don't have a little trouble digesting someone saying it makes you special in a way.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like
But yes, it's a great line. It's a great pickup line.
no, I feel like I was special enough by the family I grew up into,
Yeah.
and it just made me crave to be special in every other aspect of life.
Mm.
And this journey, or this chase for someone to be special in everything that it does, is something that I wish for someone to have as well.
Interesting.
It makes you feel like you need to be here, you need to live. And
But do you not think that all of us, normies, don't feel the same? We have quite a lot of evidence to suggest that we should just check out, but we continue to live anyway. No.
yeah, but I would say that for people that grew up and, like, had this journey of life, like as I would not necessarily want to be here.
Hmm.
And I feel like
Do you is describe the I guess the relationship with the half sister that you found.
Yeah.
Did she also grow up in a gay household, or she?
no, she was born actually for like a single mom.
Wow.
So the difference is very big.
Yeah, but
Um,
still, there was no male
Correct.
figure in her life.
Correct.
Her life, right? It's a woman.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also she's a woman, so it's a bit, it's much different.
And does she share this search for her father? Does she also look at the street and look for people?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Um, yeah, and I don't necessarily look for knowing who this person is and talking to him. I just want to see a picture of him. Just want to see something that would, like, close the loop. Something that would
Mm.
verify, I don't know, my
But
existence.
but there's also something kind of like self-perpetuating about this whole process, right? Like, you have this thing where you don't know who the sperm donor was.
Yeah.
And but yet you're curious. Like, you did search for this person.
Yeah.
And you're out there looking on the street, and maybe this is the person. Maybe that's the man, right? But if you find out, then that search ends. I suppose you can continue to ask, what is this person's background? Where do they come from? Yada yada. Although you can do a DNA test and find that out pretty quickly. But um, so do you want it to end? Do you want to find the sperm donor, or?
I just want to I just want to know like how it looks like.
But no questions.
Nonetheless, I know that he was a like a med student. I know that he was looking very much like my mom in terms of like characteristics of like blonde,
Mm-hmm.
blue eyes, pretty high. Um,
Taller than
Ashkenaz, yeah,
you. Okay.
Ashkenazi.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we know his phenotypes as like how he looks like pretty much.
Yeah.
But I feel like a picture would make me feel like that I know that he's a person, or
Yeah.
I would know my origins a bit more. I would know that this is a living person, that I was born like from his help.
Mm.
Um, just make everything more like humane. It's something that I wish to have.
Hmm. So in this otherness that you describe, it is there a sense of you that's kind of doubtful that yeah, it is kind of mechanical, right? Like sperm was extracted, it was went through a process, there were needles involved, not, sex between a man and a woman, passion, love, and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It was a bit more sterile, I suppose.
Yeah.
And you want to think, no,
I don't care. I
two
don't care
humans.
like the process. I don't care like it either. Yeah, I don't know. Like there are women that get pregnant by being raped. There,
Yeah.
I don't care what the process is. I want to know that the intentions were good.
Mm.
I
But how would you gather that from a picture of this person?
um I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of things that you can learn from looking at someone's eyes.
Really?
Yeah, and seeing the presumed intention behind them.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Do you enjoy going to museums or art galleries or things like this?
Um, Not necessarily.
Okay.
I like talking to people. I
Mm-hmm.
like trusting my judgment on whether people are feeling good or bad. Like whether they're good or bad people. Like I
Yeah.
have this shimmers every time I'm walking like on the street and a man or a woman crosses me, and if I get this shimmers, I'm afraid of this person. I get a feeling that this person has done something bad in his life or could
Mm.
hurt me. And I feel like it's sort of like an instinct that I
And that's just by
develop.
looking into their eyes.
Yeah, I think so.
Have you felt this way since you were a kid, or is this something you
Um,
developed later on?
it's something that I think I had since I was a kid.
Mm.
This extra sensitivity to people, and to especially people who could hurt me or my loved ones.
And that's probably from the bullying, I suppose.
Probably.
So you would walk into a new class every year, and you could just sort of scan the room and say, potential asshole, good person,
Yeah,
easily influenced.
and I was or naturally or instinctively um, going away from the people that I felt like they had a potential to hurt me.
Yeah.
Or
And were you right a lot of the times?
um, yeah,
Jesus. Okay. So maybe I shouldn't look into your eyes, man.
no,
Um. So you're also gay,
I am.
and this was one of I think the most thorny issue, or the issue that you were most concerned about, right? Was your sexuality as a result of that people would misunderstand that your sexuality is tied to growing up in a gay household, or perhaps not. I have no idea. Right? It
Yeah.
wasn't exactly clear from the way you described it.
Yeah. I feel
Did you have a sense that you were gay? I mean, you didn't grow up in a house of two gay men, right?
Yeah.
I suppose, right? But tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, like there weren't. You obviously didn't grow up with that two gay dads, but were there gay men hanging around your house a lot?
there were.
Okay.
My non-biological mom had two brothers. They were gay. One died from AIDS, I think, just in the middle of the pandemic
Hmm.
in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is also gay, lives in London, and the family is very like gay friendly, and there's a lot of gay,
There's a lot of gayness in your house.
a lot of it, and I love it, and
Sure.
it's openness and
Yeah.
liberalism,
Yeah.
and it's great, and it really made me.
And also on your other mom's side.
On the other mom's side, it's a bit more traditional, a bit more like heterosexual
Okay.
and stuff. But everyone were super acceptive of her and my other mom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but
So
yeah,
so you did see both gay and not and straight.
I did.
Okay.
But I feel I wasn't sure, and up until now, I'm not sure if what impacted me more, like my own desire to be gay, or the fact that society always told me that I need to be gay or I am gay. Like throughout all the bullying at school, everyone told me I was gay because I was hanged up with girls only,
Yeah.
because I didn't know something else. And because I grew up to a gay family, I necessarily need to be gay. And I think like in as a teenager, I wasn't sure what I was necessarily.
Well,
Up,
listen, I have no idea what it's like, obviously, and it's been this like secret wish of mine to have a gay person like, ask away. You know how does it all work, right?
Yeah.
But you know we go through similar processes, right? We mature sexually, and so we're attracted to one sex or the other, I suppose, right? Or not?
uh, yeah, but I feel like society can really convince you to be one thing and not the other.
But okay, sure, I guess. But I mean, we still have to have an attract. Like I don't think we're in control of what we're attracted to, right?
Um, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like there's always. I don't know, like if scientists even know.
Yeah.
Um, my family always told me that they knew I was gay from really early ages,
No kidding.
but I I don't think it was true. I don't think I had like this sexuality still figured out.
How?
Because I was because I was like extra sensitive boy
Yeah.
and wasn't very masculine,
Yeah.
did not necessarily mean that I was attracted to boys and not girls.
Did you ever have sexual interactions with girls?
I claimed that I had just to make me feel like I was suiting like standards,
Mm-hmm. But never did.
but never did.
Well, doesn't that say something?
Um, it does, but also I don't see like masculinity or being a man something that I need to be proud of, or I
What do you mean?
struggle with the word like man,
Mm-hmm.
or to be masculine is sort of not a good thing in my opinion.
It's not a good thing
Yeah, so
because
because I got a sense and I felt that men are necessarily type of people that could hurt more than benefit others. And it's also, I think, like one of the reasons that I didn't have this interactions with social sexual interactions with women, because I didn't want to hurt them. Or yeah, I just I was and I'm still like extra sensitive to um, sexual harassment, sexual abuses
Yeah,
by by men necessarily.
but not all sex between men and women is harassment or it's bad. I mean, most of it is through love,
Yeah, it's a
right? We're not all terrible, man.
yeah. I don't know. I feel like it's a prejudice that I've been carrying.
Yeah, but when when you were 12, 13, 14, and becoming a sexually active, your fantasies were more about men, women, both.
Um,
Like for me, it was
no, we're,
one way street.
yeah. I don't think that I had this fantasies.
Really?
Yeah, I
Wow.
started having this fantasies on women first when I was, I think, 17. But then like the actual experiences with men at 18 and going forward.
But
So
yeah,
I
but you enjoyed it with men?
not at the beginning, but I in the end I did.
Yeah, I guess it's also what's so interesting about it is that so you think the prejudice that you carry um, is that men are more dangerous
Yeah.
and one should be a bit more cautious and protective over women, and yet you choose you you mate with men.
Yeah. And
Do
yeah.
you are you afraid of getting into a relationship with a man and think this person might hurt me?
Mm,
Sensitive as you are, and with your story and with your background of being bullied and stuff, like, does that ever concern you? Does it concern you?
not now because I'm in a relationship with someone for the past 3 years, and he's
Mm-hmm.
amazing. And
Okay. Do you guys live together?
yes,
How's that?
it's great. It and it's something that I wasn't sure if I would feel comfortable with living with a man in the same house and feel still like comfortable and able to express my masculinity, but also feeling okay to not show
He is this your first male roommate?
it. No, I had
I mean, I don't want to call him just a roommate, but you know what I mean. Like
yeah.
first time you're living with a man,
No, it's the second time.
but and the first time was also a partner, or
Yeah.
okay.
Um,
And have these guys changed your mind about a lot of us, or do we still do we still pose a grave danger to?
some of them,
So
some of them. Also, like as a gay kid, um, being exposed to like dating apps and stuff like that. It's not something that I could say was the healthiest um, experience of not like being exposed to the bad side of
yeah,
men.
honestly, so I had a gay roommate when I first moved to Israel, to Tel Aviv, and he would show me some of these apps and dating sites, and it's nuts.
Yeah,
It's so graphic and so
and it's also like
aggressive.
it's validating some of the concerns that I have towards
Yeah,
towards
yeah.
men. Yeah,
Were you on these apps before?
yeah, of course.
Of course. Yeah. I
It-
met I only ask because I met my wife before this stuff really took off.
Mhm.
Thankfully, it seems so, I don't know, stressful. So it's just like another app that you've got to monitor and
Yeah, yeah, and it's like this podcast is about like impact of technology on people's lives,
yeah,
and I think the impact of dating apps on people's life is not not good.
not good. Do you have friends who are still on this stuff?
Yeah, of course,
And
and they're still complain a lot by
what are the top complaints that these people
that
have?
it leaves you sort of like a burn for life.
Burned for life?
Yeah, yeah,
Why? What happened?
because there aren't really good people there. There aren't really people with good intentions, like in these apps, and you're sort of like getting exposed to a lot of the bad sides of
Oh,
like how sexuality can hurt people
got it.
and can satisfy only one's desires without
Right.
without recognizing the other person's
Because
needs.
some people are out there looking for love,
Yeah.
and if someone betrays that trust, right? So someone puts themselves out there and says, "I'm looking for love," and like, yeah, me too, and then they just have sex with them and they forget about them. I can see how that can erode people's faith in love,
Yeah.
right? Or love that will sustain itself over the course of their entire lives.
Yeah.
And your friends are feeling this, like they're getting jaded.
They are, or they're just feeling like it's not it's not the place to hang up on, like, if you want to find relationships. It's just connecting more the dots between self-harm and and lack of understanding of, like, just looking at people as dolls, as sex dolls, to get sexual satisfaction.
Right. Which no one wants to be looked at in that way.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes yes, but if you really ask them, do you just want to be treated as a piece of meat,
Yeah.
man or woman? They'll say no. It's like no, as we said, right? We exist. We're alive, right? We have stories, we have feelings, and the worst thing in the world is that someone looks at you and just doesn't see you.
Yeah.
For who you really are. Yeah.
Yeah.
These apps are just. But that could just be me, right? Or us. Maybe we're too old. No.
No, I don't think so. I feel like the statistics of just having a lot of people with bad intentions in one place is higher in apps that rather than like real life. And I think
Well, because then you can't use your eyes to see and screen if this person is good or not. No, seriously.
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
you don't get this intuition.
yeah. Well, you kind of do, right? People develop the skill of screening people based on the conversation that they have online virtually. But there's so much information that you can be gleaning if you're just actually in front of this person talking.
Yeah.
And even then, like when you're having a date with this person, they might be constantly interrupted and be paying more attention to their phone a few minutes at a time. So even that, like the process by which you are trying to figure out who this person is and do they share the core values that you do, that you can then share a life with this person. That process gets interrupted by other apps, I suppose.
Yeah.
In the middle of the date.
Yeah.
How did you meet your boyfriend?
Through a dating app. Yeah. And
You fucking hypocrite.
I know. I know. Yeah. And it was just like he was looking for like more settle. He looked to settle, like, in finding like the partner for life.
How the hell do you convey that though in these apps?
He told me. He told me that he was looking only for relationship
Okay.
material and stuff like that. And I wasn't looking for that at that time. But then
But you trusted this person's.
I did.
Okay, and
I
he
did.
trusted you. Yeah.
And
I at least have the moral high ground to say that I didn't find my wife through this shit, but you.
and it wasn't something that I was totally proud of. Like,
Wow, whatever. I suppose. This is what makes it so hard because there are actually like my cousin met her husband, um, through one of these apps, and they're amazing together. You know, so it's not black and white.
Yeah.
But you know, like again to go back to how we started, like there's so much change, happening so quickly, and this stuff just gets loosed onto the world, and we don't really talk about it. Like I was actually thinking about doing something like a 10 Commandments for uh, um, virtual communication. You know, because there are things that people do that are really annoying, right? Like we can reach each other so quickly at any moment of the day that any thought that arises to your head at 9 o'clock at night, you can just say it's a work situation. Say here, what's the status on blah 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 project, and then like you're called into action, and it's 9 o'clock at night. You want to unwind and not deal with this shit, you know. So, but there are no norms around this. There's no sort of unspoken code of we don't do that, you know.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's just something I've been toying with in my head.
yeah, it's fascinating.
So, if you do you want to have kids?
I do.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you talk about that? What's your partner's name?
Netanel.
Nathaniel. Do you guys talk about it?
Yes, we do. Um,
How would you go about doing it?
it isn't a very cheap option.
Yeah. Okay. So I have a cousin. He's married. He has 2 kids now, and he always tells me it's very very expensive. But walk me through because I don't understand how this works. Why
Yeah.
why is it so expensive?
So you need to find either, like, if you want to have like biological children and not adopt, which
Mhm.
is also something that I'm totally open to. I
Mhm.
think it's an amazing thing to do. You need to find a surrogate, and you need to find an egg donor, and to create this circle of support that would allow you to have kids.
What do you mean? What is this circle of support?
To have this relationship with, either a relationship or just like conversation with an egg donor,
Mhm.
with like doctors who would actually do this IVF and then inseminate the surrogate with the fetus. And you need a lot of moving parties in order to do something that a heterosexual couple would be able to do just
So
by
there's
themselves.
there's the two of you,
Yep.
you and Nathaniel. You need a woman to donate her egg.
Yeah.
And then you need a woman to actually bear the pregnancy.
Correct.
And then what? And then she gives birth,
And then she gives birth,
and you have to pay this woman for her time, right?
of course,
And
and also you need to take care of this woman to make sure that she's healthy, she's doing okay, and I really hope that I would have relationship with both the egg donor and the surrogate that would carry the baby.
and there's obviously a process
Prior to that.
behind it. So like you've got to interview both the egg donor
Correct.
and the surrogate. And
Yeah.
where does this all?
I
take
would say
place?
that the egg donor could be a bit more anonymous if she wants to,
Mm.
than the surrogate.
But isn't the egg donor? She's in terms of both women. She's the more essential character in this story. No,
Uh,
or Tell me if I'm wrong.
I wouldn't say so. I
Okay.
would say that the person that carries the baby is more essential. I don't know like if essential is the right word, but means a lot, means more to me in my sense. Because as I saw, I feel like my biological mom and my non-biological mom, I appreciate them like both at the same level,
Mm.
and appreciating the surrogate for carrying the pregnancy and being involved in this 9 months process is more meaningful to me than just highlighting the biological impact of
Okay.
just
And also, I think,
donating the egg.
and the surrogate. Now that I'm thinking about this, also she's creating not only a physical bond with this child that is growing inside of her,
Yeah.
which is a crazy thing to think about, but there's on top of that there's an emotional attachment, right?
Yeah.
Because she's going through this. She's the one who gives birth, and she goes through this amazing experience to bring life into the world.
Yeah.
And on some level, even has to say goodbye to this
Mhm.
child.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's you're right. It is actually quite a delicate relationship that you've got to sort through.
Yeah.
Have you started any of this?
Not yet. I still need to evolve my life a bit
Yeah.
until I'm fully ready to embark on this journey, because I think it requires
Yeah.
a lot of time, a lot of money, a lot of
Do you have any idea how much it costs?
um I think it costs around like at least 100 million. No 100 million. $100,000
Wow.
to make this happen.
Wow.
Um
And
yeah.
you'd want to do it once, twice, or as much as you
Um
can afford?
I don't know. I feel like 3 kids is the maximum for me at least. But also I know that a lot of gay couples are necessarily wanting to to have twins in the beginning.
Mm.
Um,
I read a stat um, that there's 170,000 kids being raised by gay parents in the U.S. By I think it was 111,000 gay couples in the U.S. So that averages to about a kid and a half per family.
Really?
So I guess basically between 1 or 2 kids I mean, as you said, it's expensive. It takes a hell of a long time. Like there's all these other added loops to the story that that for hetero or straight couples it's just. I mean, just to make this slightly embarrassing. I mean, when my wife and I decided we wanted to have kids, I remember the moment actually. It was, I mean, just I'm trying to highlight how easy this is. Easy, you know what I mean? How simple, straightforward. That we were walking on our way to a party of friends of ours, and we had been married. So we had been married for almost for like 2.5 years, something like that. And then we were just walking, and she's like, I want a kid now." I was like, "Okay," and that was that. We didn't have to think too much about it, And then we tried for like I think it was like 3 months, and then she got pregnant. And look, for other couples, it's much more. There are other complications, but generally speaking, that seems to be the story that most couples or a lot of couples have in any event. But for you guys, it's it's hard work.
it's hard, but it's also very like I'm coming back to my point of like it's really rewarding. It
Yeah.
makes your child extra special because
Mm,
all the work that has been
yeah.
dedicated to
Right.
making this happen.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you're like envisioning like a sprint like in the Olympics,
Yeah.
this kid is starting like in a closer point to the final circle
Yeah.
than the rest.
Do you ever think about what kind of father you'd be?
Uh, I feel like I wouldn't be too protective, but I would also be very skeptic about the world. I would be I would let this person develop this own discipline that I developed throughout the years,
Yeah.
but I would also feel really skeptic to hear him saying like everything was good at school, everything was fine, my life
Yeah.
is pitch perfect,
Yeah.
and it's not that. If he would say that, I would know that he's hiding some things because life isn't perfect all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. It's amazing. Also, we were just I was just in rented a house up north with family, and the first day we were there, I I was just I caught my kids in a lie, both of them. Sorry, my two eldest kids, and there was a pool table there, billiards, and I go down there and I see that one of the pool cues is broken, and I'm thinking, the hell, like what happened here? So I asked them, "What did you guys break this?" And then they both are telling stories that they don't they don't link with one another, completely unsynchronized, and you could just look at their like they're kind of looking this way that way. It's like you fucking kids are lying, and finally they out with it comes, right? It wasn't exactly clear who was guilty. I think they were both guilty. This one told me to do this, and I pushed this, and whatever, right? And it's it's amazing. You can I mean, this is the cool thing about being a parent is that you can teleport yourself back to when you were a child, and so you can see when they're lying, right? Because they're terrible at it. You, on the other hand, you've got this sort of uber skill because you were able to lie in such a way that your parents, as you think, weren't able to pick up on the shit that you were going through every single day. So you're actually even more attuned to, as you said, right? You'd be very skeptical of the the stories that your child would tell you coming back home.
Yeah.
Do you again? It's so interesting because we have no choice but to look at the house that we grew up in and copy what we like and discard what we don't like. Sometimes actually we copy what we don't like as well when we actually see the value of it. But that's the reference point that you have, right? It's that this ultimate freedom that there was no disciplinary figure in your life.
Yeah.
Are there other things that you sort of picked up on that?
I feel like being a parent that is more emotionally driven than logically.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I would say that there was a lot of love at my home,
Yeah.
and there was less like um, wanting for the kids to be successful or to be like to have like good grades and stuff like that. And they just wanted for us to be happy in the end and not successful, not necessarily successful, and didn't push us to be such. They sort of trusted that we'll be successful if we want to be. And if we feel good and we want to be successful, we will be. And they didn't push us to do something that we didn't want to do.
It's funny because in my household, the roles were, in that sense, they were reversed. My father never pushed us to study anything that we didn't want to study.
Mhm.
I think he would agree with that. He believes that people should do what they really like and are really passionate about. Whereas my mother was more, I guess, more conservative. She was always pushing us to do well academically. She would get angry with us if we didn't do well in school. Um, Even now, like she has this um, I don't know, like this insistence on how much are you saving money? You know, are you caring for your future? Are you earning enough money in your job and things like this, which again are completely valid concerns, right? Um, but it's just interesting that it comes from it's an inverse, right, from the actual, not the actual, but what is traditionally known to most straight couples, sorry, straight families, families of with straight parents. Jesus, there's too many fucking minefields here.
Yeah.
Um, but you know that I'm coming from a good place, so it's fine. Um, but do you, did your sister? Do you think your sister came out the same way as you, like with the same kind of um respect or appreciation, excuse me, for the way you grew up?
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
And I think she's even more grateful than I am in some
Really?
places because she felt more belong
Mm.
than I was
Okay.
because of her gender.
Yeah. Is she also gay?
She's bisexual
Bisexual.
and she lives with her husband in Berlin.
Okay.
Yeah.
Does she have kids?
No, not yet. And I think it also reminds me of a call to action that I really want to convince parents to do is to send their kids to therapy from really early ages if they're not sure like how their children's are feel like in their childhood or like in school or something. And I think a few years ago I had this really crisis in my life and started like going into therapy, not because what I'm talking about now, but more because of like an event that happened, and I started like seeing psychiatrists and stuff like that. And
Can you share what it was, or do you prefer not to talk about it?
it's a family event that happened, and it was the first time that I saw like a psychiatrist, and he was sort of like he was homophobic, and
This therapist?
yeah, um,
Homophobic?
yeah, yeah, and he sort of claimed that all of the feelings that I was going through were because of the fact that I'm gay, because of the fact that I was born to two moms. And I feel like for a person to be faced with this, I don't know, statement, with this lack of um, sensitivity, could be really like a big thing that would crush his or her life. And then the psychiatrist also asked if my sister has the same problem as being gay or being not straight.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and it's also like one of the reasons that I came to this therapy is because of like a relationship that happened, um, that I had, but also something in the family that happened at the same time. That if a homophobic person would listen to these things, he would connect the dots and would say that you're feeling like that because you're
Yeah.
homophobic. So
But even you yourself, you're not settled one way or the other, whether it's nature or nurture, in terms of your sexuality.
yeah, but it's something that I should handle. I should
Sure.
I someone else. I don't need to hear someone else's opinion about that.
Sure.
it's something that I need to figure out myself.
Also, who gives a shit? You know?
There are people that would give a shit.
I suppose you know what, that's actually not fair, because say you were the case, right? That proved that, that's homosexuality isn't something that's natural, which happens in other species. Like it's a common thing. But let's just say it's this is all socially constructed. I guess that would be a big deal for people who believe that homosexuality is a sin and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But you know, there's just so much evidence on the other side of that argument. So
Yeah. And I was just furious just hearing this person's that views that should be like smart and educated,
yeah. Do you
asking
think?
if the problem is because of the fact that I'm gay or because I grew up in a gay family.
But okay, let me try to be charitable to this psychiatrist. Maybe he hit such a sensitive part of your existence that, and he was just asking questions, just like trying to search through your life to sort of piece together something. And he asked a very provocative question, and you viewed it through the lens of, oh, this guy's homophobic. Or do you actually think that this guy actually hates gay people? Like it could have just come out of like there are questions I'm sure that I asked. If someone were inclined to believe that I don't like gay people, then they might think, here's the proof. He doesn't like gay people.
Yeah.
Whereas I just don't know. I don't know what the right questions are. I just ask whatever comes to mind. But again, I see you as human, and so we share a lot of things, and that's, for me, that's all that matters, right?
Yeah.
Do you think that though? Could that be the case with this psychiatrist?
Um, it could be, but there were some sentences that I think it's really hard to think that he's not homophobic.
Mm.
Um, but I get your like what you're trying to say here with yeah.
So, but your the point though that you were trying to make was that all parents should take their kids to therapy. Not all kids, but only the kids that are going through some
Yeah,
things. Or
I would say that kids that grow up in situations or environments that most of society doesn't get involved in,
yeah,
or they're special because of the environment that they grow in,
yeah,
should consider the consequences of how society would accept them and how these kids would feel about themselves, about, again, like the self of belonging, self of existence,
yeah.
and should have this consultation or this point of view from a professional that would either verify that they're okay or would identify some issues that would need to be solved over time through a conversation and would unravel things. And I think it's not a responsibility that parents should take by themselves. They should involve someone else in this picture.
So, this thing that you said about feeling incomplete as you walk through the world,
Yeah.
is that something that you articulated in your own mind, or had you had with sitting with someone, a psychiatrist, say, and that emerged out of your conversations?
Um, I think it's something that emerged out of the conversation.
Mm.
Um, but it all made sense, and it
Sure.
helped me reach this completeness.
Or like some kind of self-understanding
Yeah.
of what it is that I'm doing when I'm walking through the street and I'm looking at people's faces, looking for something, not just actually setting my eyes on them,
Yeah.
but trying to extract pieces of myself in their faces.
Yeah.
Do you still do that?
Yeah, and I think like it's something that I would always do.
Wow.
And yeah, no matter like how satisfied you are with the environment that you're growing in,
Yeah.
you're always going to look for something to complete it.
There's something though. There's something. I don't know. Was it like potentially dangerous about? Not dangerous, but at some point you just want to be satisfied with what you got. No?
Mm,
Or am I looking at it in the wrong way?
um, I feel like the question should be like, if you're reaching to a point that life should treat you like, or you're supposed to feel like you're complete, are you really complete? Or you need to go backwards and to fill all these gaps because the self of completeness is not true to yourself. And again, I'm in this amazing phase of my life with amazing career,
Yeah.
amazing partner,
Yeah.
loving family.
Yeah.
But I'm still not feeling complete because of myself,
Yeah.
because of the way I was born, because of the way I grew up in.
I think I may have um the way I think I might have stumbled into why that question the question that I asked you was what's wrong with it is that um is the question in your mind like am I because you keep talking about belonging, right? Being having a sense of belonging. And if you don't know who the sperm donor was, sorry. But if you don't know who that person was, there's a piece of your story that's missing, and it is that story that is the missing link to the rest of humanity. Is that a fair way of summarizing it?
Um, Maybe, but it's also maintaining the curiosity.
No, I was trying to put in other words why it is that you feel incomplete. Yeah, yeah.
Um, yeah, I would say it's one of the reasons.
One of the reasons. Okay, that's a big one.
Yeah, one of the significant reasons.
Yeah. So there are others that you've like. Do you have these moments when you're just by yourself and those thoughts arise again and they just take different form. So that's one of the forms that they take.
Yeah.
Are there others? There are others, but what are those?
Mm,
It's just so fascinating because I see a human being in front of me, and yet you feel not all the way there to yourself, right?
yeah, I would say that this is sort of like the origin,
Yeah.
and then there are like sub thoughts
Okay.
that come from this not knowing what my history is and not knowing how I came to this world. Um,
Can I buy you a drink?
Yeah.
But do you really though? Look, we're having this conversation now. And do you share it very openly now?
Um, not enough
Yeah,
because I have like this own world and inside my.
yeah. I bet you though, if you did, that most, if not all, people would be like very welcoming to hear your story, very interested, um, very helpful. I would like to believe. Um, again, you have a different sense of how good and bad people can be, but I do get the sense that people would be very drawn to hearing your life, like what that must feel like, because as I'm talking to you, I'm also framing my own life in my own, like, what I had with my parents and how I am with my kids. Um, I mean, just the fact that you say that you have this feeling of incompleteness is weird to me. Because again, I mean, I feel like we share so much in common,
Yeah.
but there's that one big piece, that's like, oh, and I shouldn't take that for granted. I think is that's the point I'm getting at. It's like, oh, I'm very fortunate, I suppose, to you view it differently, right? Where it's like you have this existential question that you have to wrestle with, and out of that question comes a deeper appreciation for life.
Yeah.
And I guess what's cool about talking to you is that I can just grasp it for what 2 hours now that we're talking, But you carry this every single day,
Yeah.
every moment of your existence.
Yeah. It's it's a great thing, I think.
Do you Okay, so what would the things that, because we all have this list with our parents, the things that you wouldn't do with them. So you said one thing is you would beat the hell out of, you'd beat some kind of confession out of your kids to say, "How was your day?" No, 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 don't give me the standard answer. So what else?
Or just not insisting for the kid to say anything, just maybe to direct him to a professional person
Yeah,
that would.
but how would you know it's time?
um I feel like as soon as you introduce your kid to other kids and they start to develop this rationale of like this vulnerability,
Mm.
um, I think is like as soon as they are able to talk and to express some things.
Yeah. Do you ever think about um, having more women around? I guess your moms are there, your sister's there, but having them play a big role in your kids' lives. As like, here's some maternal influence in your life.
um yes, I think like having this support system around your kid is really important and really.
Yeah. I mean, they'll be there anyway because let's say if you have a baby in the house,
Yeah.
you'll need some experienced hands to tell you baby's tired, the baby's hungry, change the diapers. This is what we did when we potty trained you or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And you could read the stuff online, but better to talk to someone who knows how the game works, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Um, and also like how amazing it would be for your kids to have a relationship with grandmas, right? That's pretty cool. So in any event, they'll be there, but I wonder I wonder what you think about that,
Uh,
or if you've thought about that kind of stuff.
I don't think that I have. Um,
Yeah.
but I have thought about it. But I would totally want to have my kids and like enjoy the same amount of love that I received when I was a kid. And
Um, it's a good place to end it. No, what do you think?
I think so.
So, in the spirit of this conversation, I guess, um, I want to say thank you for taking the time to spend with me, man. It's you've got a boyfriend, you've got a job, you've got other responsibilities, and you're here with me. So that means a lot.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me and for creating this space.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, appreciate it.
And then now this is gonna sound a little crass, but I do have to. I always forget, but I shouldn't, and that is to say thanks to Google. Really, no, this is this is free.
That's awesome.
It's insane. So I'm really grateful that this place exists. All right, man. Let's wrap it up.
Okay.
Good talking to you.